let's get this first topic out and let's talk a little bit about the Mark Jackson saga. Mark Jackson, ex-St. John's player, all-world back in the 80s. Mark Jackson was a phenomenon. He came out of New York City, and he was able to stay home, play at St. John's, and, do his thing at St. John's. And he parlayed his way into NBA basketball. And I know he played for Indiana for a while, and he's played for multiple teams, I believe, and Najee can clarify that for me. Mark Jackson, to me, is an upstanding guy from what I've seen and from what I've read about him. And that doesn't necessarily, validate the things that I'm saying. But these are the things that I'm seeing and that I'm getting the energy off of Mark Jackson. Is Mark Jackson is an upstanding guy. He was a great athlete when he played, and he was a great coach because he was actually able to take the Golden State out of the basement of NBA basketball. Golden State, for people who don't remember Golden State has been a basement team up until Mark Jackson started that turn to success to where Steve Curry is now. Golden State was below average on the level that you wouldn't believe back in the 80s. They were considered a team that if the Lakers played them, or if any team from the West, a Power 5 team, or any team from the East played them, it was a win for them. You just show up, you play them, and you beat them. I remember the great Don Nelson, who played, and he played in the league, and he coached for Golden State for a long time. And Nelly was a great coach. Nelly was an offensive-minded coach. He was a strategic coach, and he kept Golden State competitive throughout the years. But when Mark Jackson got there, Mark Jackson changed the whole dynamic. Now, a lot of people might contest what I'm saying about that. Now, Mark Jackson did a lot of things that a lot of people might not have agreed with to change the dynamic at Golden State. Sometimes you have to make people feel uncomfortable to get to the level that they need to be. And then sometimes they thank you, but sometimes they never thank you because they don't want to admit that they were wrong when you incorporated something that worked. So we're going to go back and revert back to some of the comments that we received from Mark Jackson's YouTube video that we put out, the content that we put out. And we've been getting quite a bit of feedback on that. And it looks as though from most of the feedback I have read from this particular content is that Mark Jackson, from these people's opinion, is being blackballed based on his religious beliefs and his religious, his priorities to religion and incorporating religion in his life. I'm going to ask Isaiah to start out with, do you think that the rest of the owners in the league is holding that against Mark Jackson because of his faith?
No, man, I can't imagine that. I just can't. When it comes to religion and my outlook on religion is the mere fact that you trying to do something good. And what I seen with Martin Jackson, I think he did something enormous. And it was, strategic, and it was really, really professional because he took a organization that was flat out laughable. They couldn't beat anybody. Nobody didn't even want to play over there. So he brought a culture over there where they started winning, and all of a sudden, he wasn't there anymore, but they continue to build off of what he started. And then now all of a sudden he don't have a job. It's just mind-boggling to me to find this guy can't get employed. And I really cannot stomach the fact that it's because of his religion. You know how many saved, sanctified, and filled with the Holy Ghost coaches are out there?
Absolutely.
And I had heard nothing ever mentioned but good when it comes to that. I mean, some of the greats like Tony Dungy, for instance. I mean, he's always talking about God and prayer and uplifting and motivating folks. If that's the case and they don't want a person like that around, I mean, this is something the guy started out that's something to be admired. And now you say it's because of his religion. It don't smell right. It don't seem right. I don't think that's accurate. I really don't think that's accurate at all.
Yeah, you made some valid points there because I'm thinking along the same lines that your faith shouldn't affect your ability to be able to be employed anywhere in this country because of the freedoms that we enjoy, because of, the American spirit of, respecting others and the morale and morality and things of that sort. Whenever you have a faith, no matter what your faith is, it should be respected and it should be admired in a lot of ways, even though you might not even agree with that particular faith. You still should respect someone's faith and not hold, if in fact that's the case, against someone because of what they're trying to seek employment for. Um, I'm gonna move on to Najee, but I'm gonna read off some of the comments here. It looks feel better, healthy. 6320 says it's because he was open about his Christianity and had his players pray with him. Najee, do you think that's actually a factor in Mark Jackson being held back from coaching again?
No, I think he's probably his own man, and then he just probably don't take nothing from nobody else. That's why I think it is. Because I mean, Steph Curry is a religious man. So you mean to tell me you're a best player, your point guard is a religious man, your coach is a religious man. So there's only room for one. So we just gonna get rid of the other. I mean, it doesn't make sense. And then on top of it, when you're talking about how he can't get another coaching job from what he has built and started, you mean to tell me he can't get another one? You know how many teams that has gotten rid of a coach? Do you know how many teams that just started a coach that never coached a team before, like or at least a head coach like Darvin Ham, like JJ Redick, never coached a team in a day in his life. Not an assistant coach, not a defensive, offensive, or shooting coach. Nothing of a type of a coaching, and he gets one of the best franchise jobs in the league. So you mean to tell me he's not even able to get a garbage team, the Charlotte Hornets, nothing. You can't get Detroit. You can't get none of that. None of that. No garbage team. Young players, nothing. Because he's really, from what he showed, that he's pretty good in coaching young players. So you mean to tell me none of these garbage teams? That's nothing. The New Orleans Pelicans. Nobody can get him on there. You see, they just started coaching for Chauncey Billups for the Trailblazers. The Trailblazers. Chauncey Billups never coached a team. You mean to tell me he got a coaching job? And I like Chauncey Billups. You mean to tell me he got a coaching job before Mark Jackson? Come on, seriously, just think about what you're saying here.
That's what I'm telling you, DC. It can't be that, man. You will be willing to take an inexperienced coach over a seasoned, polished coach. It just don't sound right, man. It can't be that. It can't be his religious belief. It just can't be that, man. There's something else behind the scenes that people are failing to admit to the general public. It just can't be that, man. I'm ready to quit talking about it because I feel like everything that's coming out is not true. I mean, I'm sick of hearing this bogus type of stuff saying that it's because this guy's religion. That's where you're supposed to be more open to a guy who's got faith in the guy.
I
I
agree.
mean, that's what you build your whole life on is faith.
Yeah.
And you don't want a guy around because he's got a certain belief, a character about him, where his religion's enough for to run an organization. You want a guy like that there instead of a crook on your doggone team or a guy who don't believe anything. You would rather have a freaking crook on your team, a felon on your team, or running your organization than a guy who has a powerful belief in God. It's just, I don't believe it, man.
Well, when we were playing little league football at Hialeah Optimus, I played for the 120-pound club back in the time when I was a child, and I was an early teenager. Let's just say that I wasn't a child. We actually had prayer before the games to keep the coaches prayed to keep players safe in the game, and even after the game, after we shook hands and slapped five with the rest the opposing team, we actually prayed that everybody was able to be safe if in fact nobody got hurt or injured in a a major way. We were just happy that we were able to play a game against an opponent and not get injured. So I don't think prayer is a problem for me, that if a coach wants to ask his team to pray with him, every player has the right to refuse to do it if they don't feel like they want to do it, if they don't feel comfortable doing it. So I don't, think that Mark Jackson, even if he, in fact did pray with his team, I don't think it was any intention of him trying to assert anything other than the fact that they were praying for everybody's safety. They were praying for the opponent's safety, and things of that sort. And prayer builds character. I don't care what anybody say. Prayer builds character. It builds morality. I mean, it builds everything within an individual. And it asking God for forgiveness for things that you might have done, and whatever the case may be, there is nothing wrong with that at all. So I agree with you, Isaiah. I agree with you, Najee, that based on the information that I'm getting from what I'm reading, him asking his players to pray with him, I would just say, I don't believe that's it. Now, let's go to right here. It says REG44T said Curry is the one that did it. So if Steph Curry he has faith, why would Steph Curry sabotage Mark Jackson to keep Mark Jackson, blackballed in the league? I find that one hard to believe and understand too. What do you think about that one, Isaiah?
Stupid. Sounds stupid. It's one thing to get your coach fired from your team, but to be blackballed in the entire league.
How you gonna blackball from the other 29 teams?
Yeah, come on. It's just stupid, man. If you couldn't agree with your coach, and I know superstars have enormous power and they can, uproot a coach, but he's not gonna uproot the guy out of the league. I mean, I don't think Steph Curry that damn powerful to make sure that this guy never have a job again. And not only that, like I said last week, there's been collegiate teams that's been needing a coach. Like the Florida State, for instance, they needed a coach. You mean to tell me he couldn't take that job either? He didn't want that job either. I've never seen his name soar around any job since he left. I've never seen his name thrown in the hat for any other job. So I really don't think Steph got that much power to say the man just gonna be cutting grass for the rest of his life because he said something that he didn't agree with, even when it comes in terms of the religion. When I was in school, when I was in high school in particular, one of our coaches used to pray with us. I mean, no matter what your religion was, you had a moment of meditation where you pray to God that you choose. And he used to pray for the fact that we was going to remember our plays, we were going to be healthy, and no one get hurt. And he prayed for both teams, not just for a win. He didn't pray for a win. He wasn't saying that I want our team to win. He prayed for safety of these kids that's out here competing. So who's on the other side? They may have been praying as well. So why God has to take a choice of which team he wants to win? So what he felt like if we remember our plays because we worked hard in practice, we should be successful enough to win against this other team. He wasn't praying for a win. He thought that we was just better than that other team. We were more talented than that other team. Only thing we had to do was execute what we practice on, and we would win. And that's how it should be. I don't think it ever should be where you praying to God that I can go out there and whoop this other team. And if I beat him, I mean, God was favorable to me, which is crazy. So getting back to Steph, man, I don't think that happened. So they got other things behind the table, and that's what's going on. It has nothing to do with religion or Steph, in my opinion. I do not see that happening.
Okay, so let me place it in a clearer context, on behalf of REG 44 Tango, which is T. I'm going to just place a clearer context. He's probably, and I'm not making an assertion of what he thinks, but what I'm thinking is he may think that Steph Curry actually had some concerns about Mark Jackson, and he talked around the organization about it. This is what my perception of picking up, where it said Curry is the one that did it. Maybe it contributed toward, the ownership in the organization, because I can tell you one thing: the owner or co-owner, Joe Lacob, who's he's the face of the franchise. You see him more on TV than the other owners, because I think it's a minority ownership group that owns the team. He has made several comments about Mark Jackson's leadership and building a strong coaching staff, and his ability of poor relationships within the organization, and a lack of basketball knowledge, according to Joe Lacob. This is actually quoted by Joe Lacob from what I'm reading here, allegedly, that these were all of the things that he said about Mark Jackson. So if other owners are paying attention to that, I mean, it could be a situation, because one thing about ownership in professional sports, it's a brotherhood. It's a boys club. It's technically like you're in a fraternity. They're a fraternity, a group of billionaires, people who can't afford sports franchises, whether it's a group ownership or whether it's an individual ownership. And they make decisions based on the information that they gather and the information that's passed amongst them. Now, this is just my take on the whole thing. Najee, help me understand that.
DC, man, don't fall into that trap. Don't fall into that trap, man. I can recall, you just mentioned something to the degree of brotherhood, of ownership. Man, you know how many times you get a knucklehead player would have all of his off the field antics, and he would get ran off a team, and before he can clean out his locker, some other team done picked him up. So how in the world you can sit up here and say that is a brotherhood where this guy supposedly got in trouble, so he's going to get blackballed out of the league where no other team don't want him, man? Just remember when Pac-Man was playing. Remember when Pac-Man
I remember Pac-Man Jones. Yeah.
He was a nuisance, man. Not only that, look at Antonio Brown. He bounced around until he took off his clothes and striptease running down the sideline before they just said it was enough. He just had it all, man. And he messed it up himself. And teams took a chance on him. So don't give me that crap about as a brotherhood. And if one team didn't like him, nobody's not going to like him, because that's not true, man. That absolutely is not true. Every team is looking for an upper hand. And if they can get an upper hand, they would. There's more to this story than a religion in one player. Do you actually think that Steph Curry is more powerful than Michael Jordan?
No.
No. Oh, no. Okay, Michael Jordan schooled Isaiah from going to the Olympics, but he did not school Isaiah from having a job, bro. He didn't do that. He couldn't go to play on the same team with him if he's got a problem with a person. But he's not making it where the guy cannot get employed. That's what you guys fail to realize. That's why I don't believe any of this stuff, man. It's no one player is powerful enough for a man not to get a job, period. That's not true. It's something behind this, man. It's something other than these two problems or the issues that you're saying. There's a problem in the locker room with his religion, and then Steph Curry. Man, you know how devious Steph Curry has to be to put a man out on the street when he knows he's got enough talent to pull off, a coaching job with someone else, to go over there and say, don't give this guy another job. I don't think, Steph Curry's that vindictive, man.
I don't think so either. I don't think he's that vindictive at all. I don't think there's no maliciousness involved with Steph Curry when it comes to that. From the degree that Steph Curry had intentions of making sure that Mark Jackson, if he sought employment somewhere else, wasn't going to get a job. I'll give you a perfect example of NFL football where Tony Dungy was let go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he ended up with the Indianapolis Colts, and he won a Super Bowl with the Indianapolis Colts. First African-American to win a Super Bowl with the Indianapolis Colts, and Tony Dungy has his Christian faith as well, so it didn't hold him back in the NFL, although they're two different leagues. They all seem to me to function very similar in similar nature when it comes to the business aspect of leagues. Isaiah, I will say this, that I haven't bought into the fact that these owners have conspired as a group to keep Mark Jackson held back. There are other variables. There are other factors that's involved that we don't really know about, but one day they might surface, one day they might not surface. But on behalf of Mark Jackson, I do think he deserves another opportunity to coach. And we did bring Sam Cassell's name up last time as well.
What
So
I'm saying to you is, if it is something where they conspire for him not to ever become a head coach, it's not these two topics that we're talking
Right.
about.
Right.
That's the point I'm making. It's not
Right.
the religious thing, and it's damn sure not Steph Curry. It's something else behind it. That's all I'm saying about it.
You've reached the end of another episode of the DC Stewart Sports Talk Podcast. Be sure to connect with us at Facebook and Twitter.com. Your voice is important, so head over to iTunes to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. Catch our next